show, you may know Ben flew in from Sydney, Australia for games 3 and 4. I joined him in what was also a grueling trip from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So very, very similarly far away. But one of the things we were joking about is Ben having noticed some subtle differences between Australia and the United States. And we're not talking about stuff like they talk different. I mean, like the real small shit that only like a guy like Ben would notice. Like the goofy faux pas that you would not commit otherwise. So Ben, I believe you have constructed a top 5 subtle differences between the United States and Australia. And so please take it away. The floor is yours.
Yeah, thanks, Spoonie. That's right. There are some subtle differences between the US and Australia. Never mind the tipping or the driving, the taxes not factored into the price tags on shelves.
Oh, yeah.
There are all things that you can sort of mentally prepare for on arrival, those things. So I present to you the top 5 subtle differences between the USA and Australia. Number 5, shower taps and or faucets. I'm talking about you check into your hotel room, your Airbnb, you're weary, maybe a little sweaty from your travels, better have a shower, right? Cue 5-10 minutes spent trying to make the water come out of the shower faucet, not the bath tap. All these kinds of bits and bobs and levers and little mechanical devices on the wall of the shower, none of which seem to have sort of the desired effect. Took me a long time to pull all of the correct levers just to get the frickin' water to come out of the shower, which seems crazy to me. Like, you're in a hotel, shower is probably the primary use of the bathroom other than the toilet. Just make it easy. Make it easy on your foreign guests. Subtle difference between the two great nations. Number 4, thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I'm talking about you say thank you to any American and their default response seems to be, yeah. And then they walk away. I'm used to a thank you, you're welcome. That seems to be the sort of the common exchange verbally between two people, one thanking the other. The yeah and the head nod and the walking away is something I'm not, like, always sort of left me.
I've never thought about that.
Shocked, and I'm like, okay, where do we go from here? Like, do I walk away now? Like, have you had that experience? Has that ever stood out as weird to you, Spoons?
No, I think first of all, that's definitely a New England, like Massachusetts thing. Because down, like, I moved from Massachusetts to West Virginia, and people are much more sort of, there's more manners down here. Whereas Mass, it's just like, why is this motherfucker thanking me? Like, get away from me, dude. Like, yep, yeah. It's something I never noticed, but I just think I've grown up with it. I grew up with it my whole life. Or so now that you point that out, that is true. Like, yep.
All right, number 3, point of sale. I'm talking about you go to a bar, you order a beer, and the expectation for, I think, most foreigners is, I'll take that beer, I'll exchange some sort of repayment, some cash, card, and then that's the end of the transaction. But every time, no matter whether you're sitting at the bar, you're sitting at a table, you're standing around somewhere in the bar, like I was many times, catching COVID, they just give you the beer, and you got to come back and close it out. There's a trust system there, and just the term close it out it's not common elsewhere in the world. You just say, yeah, mate, I want to fix you up for this one. I'd like to pay for my goods and services, please. Yeah. But instead, it's like, oh, you want to close it out. You want to close it out. And unless you use those terms, that phrase, then, you never end up paying for your beer or whatever it is that you've ordered. It's very strange, and it takes some getting used to.
Yeah, so real quick, I think that serves a twofold purpose. One, it saves the bartender time having to like run your card if you drink 7 beers 7 different times. And 2, it is absolutely a way for you to just like forget money exists as you drink and drink more. There's no doubt in my mind.
That happened.
That's an oddity of the United States I personally love. It almost feels like you're home, man. I could just go up there and get a beer and there's 0 consequences.
It's at home, at least here in Australia, they've got the like tappable F+ things on the bar. They give you your beer, you tap your card, you leave some money on the bar, you walk away. Want another beer, you come back and pay for it. It's a simple system, but each nation probably feels like theirs is more logical and makes more sense. So that's just all part of the fun of traveling. Number 2, U.S. Customs, aka one of the most terrifying experiences of my
Yeah.
life. Why are you here? Why are you here? What is your purpose coming into the nation of America? I'm just here to see some basketball games, man. Is it business or pleasure? It's pleasure. I guess I take pleasure in seeing basketball games. What's your address? I don't know the address of my hotel. I'm sorry. It's in my bag here somewhere. And they're staring like into your soul this whole time, and you're off a 14-hour flight. You're clammy, you're shaking, and then you get interrogated by one person, representing this entire country. It's kind of terrifying.
Yeah, I got no defense for that. Our customs is ridiculous. It's so dumb. It's crazy.
And number one, and this was the one I struggled with the most, walking on the right.
I can attest.
Booty saw firsthand
Yeah.
me get into some trouble. Walking on, I understand, in the US they drive on the right. That's fine. You just get in your car, you follow the car in front of you, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey as you turn corners. It's an easy sort of process to follow. Walking on the right, very difficult. And not only that, they're really, really committed to it. If I tried to go left on anyone, they seemed willing to step out onto the road to make sure that I went to the right of them every time. And a few collisions, particularly with people pushing prams or strollers or whatever they're called over there. Got myself into some trouble not obeying that rule there in the States. So that was the biggest struggle. And then getting off the plane here in Australia, one of the first signs that I saw was please ensure you walk to the left. And I almost wept a little bit, like coming back here and seeing the instruction to stick to the left, because I just felt like I was home again. So those are the top 5 subtle differences. I do have some honorable mentions, actually. One is not having to check for spiders in your shoes, under the toilet seat. I could just sit down on the shitter. I could put on my shoes, worry-free that some sort of spider or huntsman or funnel-web or whatever would be there waiting for me. And the other honorable mention is that in the US, it smells like weed everywhere.
Yes,
At least
it
in
does.
Boston. Everywhere I went, a lot of weed being smoked. That's fine. Each to their own. Obviously, it's illegal here in Australia. So outside of where I live in Newtown, Sydney, where it does smell like weed everywhere, it's not something that you'll encounter very often. So that's it. Any of those stand out to you in particular, Spoons, before we wrap this one up?
I will say Ben and I strolled from the Beantown pub, I believe, across from the Boston Common to meet my buddy at James Hook's for lunch. I believe there are bumped into 2 people on that walk alone. So that is definitely the one that sticks in my head, because you were just like truly discombobulated by it. Like I can say you truly were just like, God, this is so difficult for me to get used to.